Beautiful people, welcome back. The more I myself study things of this nature, the studying never ends. The more I realize this thing called sadomasochism or sadomasochist, people who are into some type of infliction of pain and they kind of get some type of gratification. The majority of North Americans are sadomasochists. They are into stuff like that. Now, the reason why I say that is because when it comes to society at large, when you begin to study certain things and you realize the level of pain people actually go through, only one thing can really come to the mind because people are not stupid. You look at the same man or woman do certain things in a very structured and intelligent manner, but within the same circumstance, you see them allow certain other things to occur that just sort of puts you in a daze because you just don't quite get why someone will be that intelligent yet allow other things to occur. It can be Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome, as we know, is just basically whoever it is that's taking advantage of you or screwing you over, you build some type of level of compassion for them. Most North Americans have a strong level of hate for tortfeasors, yet somehow they allow tortfeasors to keep doing things to them. Sadomasochism, the derivation of sexual gratification from the infliction of physical pain or humiliation, either on another person or on oneself. Something tells me since most of what we do are basically some form of sexual energy, even if we're not engaging in intercourse, that raw life force is the reason why people wake up and do things. It's the fuel behind why people wake up and do things. It's the same fuel that gets people upset, motivated to do one thing or the other. It's just directed differently. And something is telling me the more I read and the more I do self-reflection, I think most people in North America are into this thing. It's like there's something going on, because if something is not going on with all these rest to the Carters, for instance, when it comes to Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secured in their persons, houses, papers, and effect against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Part of this involves the use of force. When you begin to read res judicata about which will trigger them because that's what they want, that's the realm they exist in. Remember, most of these municipal police lack power in their real life. They go home, their wives are dominating them throughout childhood. Their dad or their mom has whooped their ass. They got bullied in the high school, middle school. So now, they're cops to feel power. So they're waiting to exercise power because in their culture, they don't teach them these intricacies. They just tell them, look, if something looks like it can be escalated, escalate it. And once it's escalated, you have the right to do whatever you want. They don't know their rights anyway. Especially if they throw buzzwords around, just escalate it, you'll be fine. Now it's incumbent upon you to be educated and know the loopholes so that when the circumstance comes, or when other people that you love, your family members, your friend, someone close to you, deal with situations like this, you would know how to properly qualify what's right and what's wrong. Or even better, since prevention is better than cure, you will better prepare yourself and others around you in order to see what's going on, because these are the underlying factors as to why the things that goes on occur. People will say, oh, that's wrong, the man didn't do anything, so and so. They know they can get away with it because they are qualifying these elements and standards in the background of the whole circumstance, and these are unspoken rules that the everyday man do not know about. What gives one human being another edge over the other is what they know. What makes someone wealthy and what makes someone else poor is what they know. What makes someone successful and what makes another man a failure is what they know. What makes you a victim rather than a victor is what you know. No matter how complex they might want to do it, no matter how much they might want to mix it, no matter how much they might want to throw intricacies, if you know the details, you will always be calm and you will always be about 5 steps ahead. Now, if you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing out there in society, then you're on your own. Because petitioner's excessive force claim is one arising under the Fourth Amendment, the Court of Appeals erred and analyzing it under the four-part Johnson versus Glick test. The test, which requires consideration of whether an individual officer acted in, quote, good faith, or, quote, maliciously and sadistically for the very purpose of causing harm, aka bad faith, the opposite of good faith. The thing about legalists is they just throw a bunch of random, unnecessary words just to express something simple. The contrary of this is good faith, which is, of course, all this just means bad faith. Is incompatible with the proper Fourth Amendment analysis, meaning within this thing called Fourth Amendment, there are specific circumstances that goes with specific tests and specific analysis. If you don't know this, and you're going out there talking about, I have the right to this, I have the right to that, they will railroad you. If you say you have rights, what you're effectively saying is that you have power. And we are all well too aware of the phrase, with great power comes great pain. Forget responsibility. You will go through pain if you have power. It's like exercising. You want to gain more strength? Oh, you're going to go through pain. Pain is inevitable. Pain is just a sign that's just showing that something within your essence is expanded and it's just breaking through those barriers. But the good part about the algorithm of life and the mind is you don't necessarily have to go through those pains. Because the power of the mind is so fluid compared to the physical body, whereby you have to go through a physical toil in order to get physically stronger. But when it comes to the mind, the toil you have to go through is education. Rather than getting your butt kicked and getting infringed upon and setting a record that's detrimental to everyone else, contrary to what you say what your rights are before you learn better. Educate yourself now so that when the circumstance comes, you would avert all the negativity and the sadomasochist and sadistic crap that's done to people out here. And you will set the record straight. And by virtue of that, you will truly demonstrate to yourself first, and to society at large, and to the tortfeasors that you know what you're talking about. And set the record straight that will make them apprehensive in doing these crazy and ridiculous things to people. They create all these loopholes that people don't know about. So when people now step into, quote, their courts, they go, they're fraud. You stepped into a battlefield that you didn't really know the rules about. The rules is not just limited to the rules of civic procedures. The rules is not limited to rules of evidence. The rules is not limited to the foundational maxims. The rule is not limited to the different hierarchies of law. The rules, when it comes to man-made law, which this thing called judge-made law that everybody chokes on, the rules is that since it's man-made law, it will be interpreted from the circumstances and the dynamics of your circumstance. And if you're saying you're only going to deal with one specific type of law, and you're only going to bring that and limit it to it, I am telling you there are loopholes within this man-made law that will scatter whatever it is that you're trying to bring in. In order for you to use your tool effectively, you must know what your opponent is going to use against you. Study these things so that you know the ammunition they have. That way, you're able to gauge their strength and power against what you bring it in. Again, part of the foundational rules of battle is you must know your terrain. The majority of the people who know maxims after maxims after maxims don't know the terrain that they're stepping into. Learn these things so you know the terrain you're stepping into. Don't be delusional. That test, which requires consideration of whether the individual officers acted in, quote, good faith or maliciously and sadistically for the purpose of causing harm, is incompatible with a proper Fourth Amendment analysis. We do not agree with the Court of Appeals suggestion that the malicious and sadistic inquiry is merely another way of describing conduct that is objectively unreasonable under the circumstances. What are the circumstances? Whether it's tense, whether it's uncertain, whether it's rapidly evolving. If you got nothing out of this, what makes use of force objectively unreasonable is to. So you see now that each of these rights and then the amendment are just summary, and it's incumbent upon you, the one who say you have the right, to know the details of it. Can you imagine how many people out there do not know the details of their right beyond the general summary that they read? The entire 34-minute video is on the Patreon page. Take care and best of luck.